the biggest barriers is actually misunderstanding between the two parties. So whether it's me misunderstanding you or you misunderstanding me, it's a problem. Hi guys, welcome back to My Beautiful Autism. Today we are going to be talking about communication. So communication is a big factor for many autistic people, and there's a lot of things that go into it. Obviously, we're not going to be able to cover all of them in this video. So I just kind of want to break it down to the basics of communication, and we can go through each part one by one and see if we can get a better understanding of it so that people who have autism might be able to understand themselves better, but also people who don't have autism who are watching this video may be able to understand it. So communication, the biggest misunderstanding about communication is that it means speaking. Communication does not just mean talking. It doesn't just mean anything. Communication is a whole wide variety of interactions between people. Communicating is the way you speak, it's the words you say, it's the way you say them, so the inflection and tone of voice that you have. It's the facial expressions that you use and the body language that you use. It's also partly how the other person that you're speaking to interprets what you're saying. So all of these things together create one. When you're using your words, it's only classified as being verbal if you use those words appropriately. So somebody who runs around and says mom, mom, mom every single day and calls everybody mom is not verbal because they're not using that word correctly. Nonverbal. So then we come into the side of people who are verbal, so people who do use words. So then it's oftenly assumed because people use words, they don't have problems with communication. So I might be able to speak, but like I said, that's just one part of communication. The second part of communication is tone of voice. So oftentimes autistic people have problems not only interpreting tone of voice, but using the correct tone of voice. So we might use monotone sounds for the entirety of what we're saying, or we might inflect things at wrong times, so maybe phrase things and they sound like a question when they're not questions at all, or they might sound like an argumentative position but you're not actually meaning to sound that way. And also the flip side of that is that we understand tone of voice wrong. Since we don't use it correctly, we can sometimes understand it wrong. So we might be able, autistic people might read into things that there's no reason for them to read into because it was said correctly, but they don't understand that. So beyond using tone of voice, then we have what's called facial expression and body language. So facial expression is how you use your voice basically as context clues to what you're saying. So if you're asking a question, you're going to have a questioning you're going to have a questioning facial expression or questioning body language. If you're saying something and you're upset, you're going to have more robust physical body language and physical expression and facial expression. You're going to be able to see it in somebody's body. So not only do sometimes autistic people not understand that in other people and interpret it wrong in other people, but also due to our sensory needs, sometimes we are making body movements that don't coincide with what we're saying. Or if you don't have extra sensory needs, you might just not understand the body language. So you might not understand that slouching or turning away from somebody means that you're trying to ignore them. You might not understand that not making eye contact means that you're not listening, but for autistic people, that's not what it means. So the biggest barrier to communication, I think, beyond actual barriers such as just not speaking, or just not using meaningful communication, I think one of the biggest barriers is actually misunderstanding between the two parties. So whether it's me misunderstanding you or you misunderstanding me, it's a problem because we're not getting the point across that we're trying to make. And I think that can be one of the biggest barriers in communication. That's actually something that we call double empathy when you're using proper terms. It's the idea that neither side is understanding each other, so you're both basically just getting frustrated, and you might take things wrong, and then you're taking it wrong, and you're giving off body language that then I take wrong. So basically, it just creates a cycle of poor communication. And I think that is one of the things that can be easiest to fix. So for me, spreading autism awareness is about letting people know that these are the communication barriers. When you look at somebody and you can't understand them, you don't automatically have to assume that they're intellectually disabled or even nonverbal. You just have to stop and think. I think one of the biggest things we can do is learn to stop and think, what can I do to make this easier? What predispositions am I bringing to this conversation that maybe I can let go of to understand what alternative means of communication? Because sometimes I use a communication app because if I don't feel like I can convey what I'm saying correctly, it's easiest to just in blatant terms put it down. And to give you a real personal example of this, one of the biggest communication problems between me and my partner is the way that I phrase things. So I have a hard time explaining what I want and I need in a metaphorical sense. So I can't understand if Frankie says, oh, well, the dishes need to be done. But I can understand it if she says, please, can you do the dishes? Or a lot of times I use phrases I want and I need. And that's because I'm acknowledging my wants and needs. I'm not saying that that's what has to happen, but I'm saying I want this, I want that, I need this, I need that. And that's because I tend to struggle to communicate anyway. So I'm just making my needs known. Whether or not I'm saying that those things have to happen, I want a drink. That doesn't necessarily mean that somebody has to get me a drink. That's me acknowledging my need for a drink. That's me communicating my need. And then how somebody responds to that is how the communication starts to flow. So this is just one small part about communication. I'm going to do another video that we're going to put out. We're going to do a bit of a series, I think, about communication. Next time what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about how you can overcome those barriers. Now that you understand what they are, what are the things that you can do to look at somebody and assess their communication needs and doing this all in your head, not necessarily stopping and saying, like, there's simple things. You can ask simple questions to assess somebody's needs. And then how can you best make that? Whether you're autistic or not, what can all of us individually do to communicate better with everyone else? Because I, as an autistic person, also have to remember that if I'm the one misunderstanding things, I can't always expect everybody to bend to me. So I have to learn how to notice what somebody else is trying to say, or notice that maybe I'm not interpreting it correctly and change my views. It's a two-way street communication. The whole of communication is not about either one side. No, neither side is right or wrong. It's just that we need to work together to come to a mutual understanding to be able to communicate with the people around us. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go over all that in our next video. Right, guys, sorry about that. That cut out there at the end, so this might not look very great. Just thanks for watching. Comment down below if you have any stories or anything you want to tell me, any questions or any video ideas. Let's all make sure that we go out and spread some autism awareness today and just let's make a difference, even if it's just small. Thanks for watching, guys. Check back soon because new videos are coming out twice a week. Thanks for watching. Bye.